Awesome. We're live. And I'm Joshua Kemble, and this is my live stream. I've kind of explained on a few previous live streams like why I haven't live streamed in a while, but I'll be back at it. Kind of new guidelines for myself on this is I'm going to try to kind of work till about 11. And so what I've been working on today is penciling page 36. And now I need to basically add tone like light and shadow. And so I thought I'd just do that whilst streaming. So we'll get into that. And if you're curious who I am or what I do, I'm a graphic novelist, cartoonist, and then I'm a full-time art director by day. And then basically at this website down here, will take you to links to each of my books. But the two books that I recommend you check out are Two Stories, which is my graphic novel that talks really openly and aims to destigmatize hard conversations about mental illness, which relates pretty heavily actually to what recently happened to me, as well as Jacob's Apartment, which is like if you took Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind and Ghost World and kind of put them in a blender, that's what you'd end up with. I'll also say that I think this might be work where I could converse with people. So I noticed that Gary, how's it going, Gary, is in the chats. And I also noticed Paul is in the chats. If either of you guys want a link to kind of hop on the show and just kind of talk shop while we're working on stuff, feel free to let me know and I'll send it to you guys on Facebook. And without further ado, while I wait for that, and hey, Paul, hey, Gary, nice to have some camaraderie tonight. Okay, so here I'm going to get onto my stream, and this is basically, I have this camera set up, which I don't know why I haven't set that up in the past. It's kind of nice to have. And I think, you know what, there's one thing I need to do real quick before getting into the stream. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to refill this water. I need water. That would be a wise choice. So give me 2 seconds, and Paul and Gary, just let me know if you guys wanted to hop in the chats, and we'll move on from there. Yeah, Gary was saying he's kind of doing the non-conversational drawing part of things, which is I totally get. I have the same thing. And he said, but we'll be listening and chatting. I love it. All right, I'll be right back with water. Hang on. Okay, I know that's the best way to start a show. It's like, hey, I'm here, welcome, goodbye. But anyhow, so I'm here and I'm ready to rock. As you can see, the pencils are done for this page. I should show off the last page. This page was a beast. Like I started working on it, I think the last few live streams, and I ought to at least show you guys a sneak peek. A lot of you guys are actually seeing a lot of stuff that I'm not even revealing on Instagram or anything like that. So feel special for being subscribed to my channel and hitting that bell. You get little sneak peeks behind this book before it ever comes out. And I'm only giving sneak peeks of panels. I was so pleased with how this came out. It was exactly what I planned. It reads better due to the reason I connected those two panels going from the right to the bottom right, so that you know to then read right to left, and then that connection there, the way it's kind of fitting like this, that was all due to a really smart editor just honestly saying like, oh, it's weird that they're in this position on the next panel. And I realized they weren't following where I wanted them to follow. And that's just a testament to good editors, and like the advantage of having a good, honest editor is like you can try for something really ambitious, like this type of panel, and then have somebody tell you if it's working or not just by saying what they honestly think. And by connecting those panels, it instantly really just made it automatically translate. So I'm really proud of this page. I'm proud to be able to sneak in pages like that. Really heavy, heady. I maybe for you guys it's not, but I love stuff like that. I love doing stuff that only comics can do. But I have to say, after working on that page, I'm so happy to have a page that's a bunch of close-ups. The only catch here is there's a lot of characters, and 3 of them are sisters, so they look very similar. And so I have to kind of basically get in there and start differentiating them. Mainly, a lot of the differences between Arabelle and and Elizabeth are mainly in like hair color. So she's going to have much lighter hair. And I'm going to pretend that my light source is kind of coming from here. Let's see here. And we'll just kind of get into it. So that's kind of where I'm going to imagine my light source, sort of somewhat like I have a sun that's casting rays and it's kind of casting it like that. So that's what I'm going to keep in my head as I render this. And this will be fun. We're also joined by Christopher Runciman, and he said, tuned in just as you were waking up. So it looked like a cool entrance. Nice. Or walking up. That's awesome. Yeah, I literally timed it for you, Chris. If Christopher, if you or Philip want to hop on and chat, you're more than welcome. If you want to just kind of work solo and do your own thing, I get that too. So we're going to get into first what I do with toning these pages is usually I try to concern myself with the characters first and then the background second. So right now we're going to do our toning on the characters and just kind of do a real simple light source that's going to be kind of from their... The nice thing about this is it's like a speckly kind of pencil-y looking shading, and I really love working with this. It's like going back to basics of art classes, you know, which is really fun. And again, we're aiming to like, it's a somewhat sunny day, so I'm just going to kind of provide some tone. Again, I'm imagining a light source that's coming from there. Now, there's a couple things that I would really recommend for people. I know there's been discussion about whether art classes are helpful or not. I think it was kind of broached a little bit on Artcasters, which I wasn't on. It was either Artcasters or maybe during one of Scott's streams. And I would say that art school is not a requirement, but the kind of fundamentals that you learn, especially about like something like this where you have to kind of sculpt the form, it's very helpful. It's helpful to kind of be able to think of things in dimension. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I'm saying I'm a lot better at it because of art school. And also, I'm a lot more comfortable with mixed media because of art school as well. And so, like, it's not that you can't get that education on your own. I think there's a lot of self-taught artists that are incredible, but I do think that like the big advantage of getting especially getting those foundation classes, like before you specialize in something, like for me, I specialized in illustration, but those foundational classes will really help you be able to do a lot of stuff that's outside of the box, like from maybe things you might do otherwise. I'm able to kind of shift in styles quite a lot. And one of the reasons I'm able to do that is really a testament to the art school that I went to. Thing I liked about Cal State Long Beach that I remember at the time, the chair of the illustration department, I between me going for graduate school and undergrad, the first chair was this guy named David Hadlock, who was like a genius, like a good testament to how good David Hadlock was. This is a tale I heard. It may not be true, but I sure believed it in art school. There was tell that Hadlock was he had such a keen eye for graphic design that when they were installing the metro stations in Los Angeles, they paid him like buttloads of money just to go to the station and give his aesthetic opinion of what they had installed. He was just like that good of a guy where people pay him a lot of money just to get his thoughts on things, like not even for him to do art. But anyhow, he used to mention that one of the things that made him want to teach at a Cal State was that when he was an art director, he would like get applications from. Was Christopher, were you asking how you would hop in? Just let me know if it, I don't know if that's what you're asking, so you'll have to let me know. If you want to hop in, just give the word, just say, yeah, I'll hop on, and I'll send you a link by Facebook. Here, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to send it just in case. Oh, cool. Christopher said, sure. And I think we're Facebook friends now. Christopher Runciman is a very talented artist that we've recently befriended in the community. Okay, so I sent you a link on Facebook, and hopefully that'll work. And then Paul, oh my goodness, I lost my light. Paul, you can hop on too. The light that I got, I have one of those like circle lights, you know, for the lighting, and its tripod is like the weakest tripod in the world. Like it would be a nightmare. It would be a nightmare if you were using that thing for photography. But it was like, you know, $10-$20 or something. The mad money that I spend on this crazy art cast, which by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but super chats are a really good way to show your support and your interest in these live streams continuing. I know it's like, I'm pretty much going to be live streaming when I work on stuff, but it is a nice way to say you appreciate what's being done. And then also, it's a really good way to get your voice heard. Like if the chats get busier, which right now it's, you know, pretty late at night, so they may not. But if they do get busier, then, you know, it's just a good way to kind of highlight something. And I pretty much promise to read any super chat as long as it's not demeaning to groups of people or against the terms of service of YouTube. Yeah, Philip was saying the position of the camera views with your head over your hand makes it look like your hand is gigantic. Exactly. I kind of like it. It can almost be like that optical illusion. I kind of dig it. So I'm going to stick with it. I also think it's interesting where you can see the difference between like the color of my shirt in different lighting conditions. I think that may only work with like blue. All right, we got Christopher, and Paul is going to jump on as well. There we go. All right, Christopher, if you can, just give me like a thumbs up. Is that possible? Okay, cool. I didn't want to put somebody on if they're still setting up. So, okay, here we go. And we're going to have Christopher on screen. How's it going, Christopher?
Okay. It's all right.
I can hear you okay. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
All right. Working on stuff.
I can hear you great. I put you on. I'm doing a Frank Salazar.
A Frank Salazar?
It's weird. I'm getting this blowback right now because I'm watching you. Or I'm engaged in the camera. Sorry about that. I'm engaged in the camera, but I was trying to listen on my headphones.
Got it.
My phone, and it just wasn't working. It's like this delay that caused me this instant moment of what's going on.
That's okay.
Hi.
How's it going? So it looks like you're working on some more Sasquatch cards.
I just got my sound system figured out here.
Oh, okay, cool.
Is this giving any feedback if I turn this up?
I'm not hearing any feedback.
Okay, good. Then this will work.
Yeah.
There. I tried wearing my headphones so that in case I was worried about feedback. But instead, what I did was give myself this manic moment of giving myself a second after I've said something and making myself pause. Because did I say that? Was that me?
Oh, yeah. Well, when you get slapped back, it can be really tough. Oh, here's Paul, too, to join us. How's it going, Paul Pate?
Oh.
Good evening. Good evening.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Much better. Much better.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that, man. I'm no pressure, but I missed seeing your face on YouTube.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm like trying to kind of do this consistently, but it wasn't really going to work when I thought the whole world was recording me on video camera. Like I had a complete breakdown. So I was like, which I've I haven't had since I was very young. So that was an interesting one. But yeah, luckily everything's good now. So I think I'm good.
Yeah, really nice. And hello, Chris.
Hey, how you doing, Paul?
I'm good. Good. You got that big baritone voice going. I love it.
Yeah, we got a lot of good audio that'll come from this because Chris has a great radio voice for sure.
Try to come up with some sort of radio sounding announcements if you like at some point.
I like it. That'd be fun.
Chris has got the voice for radio, and I have the face for radio.
That's true. And then I have nothing for radio or video.
You got the musical talent, so.
So, Christopher, you're working on like is this for a Kickstarter? The sketch cards you're doing?
So I just finished. Just give me 1 sec. I'll grab something. I just finished illustrating a Sasquatch book for a company here in Ontario, and so this is some of the original pages for that. Okay, so I've changed my setup, by the way. Sorry I'm not giving you my smiling gorilla mug, but I realized in Scott's broadcast last night, when you asked Scott, your camera is cool, what are you using? And he told us about this overarm scanner thing.
Yeah, that Gary recommended, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one.
Oh, awesome.
I already had one. I bought this thing thinking, hey, I'm going to get a scanner, but I don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I'll only spend a couple of $100 and get this little space-saving folding up sucker. And then realized this doesn't do what I wanted to do. So ended up, the film that I was working on ended up paying for me to have a proper scanner for all of the work that I was doing and having to send them. So I put this in a box and forgot about its capabilities for video entirely. And I've been using a really awful $30 webcams.
Yeah.
So when you asked Scott that question last night and he answered, I looked it up and I almost fell out of my chair because I'm like, oh my God.
That's the thing you have. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm going to probably invest in one of those because like, especially before I get into doing more, like once I get back to 2 stories, I think that, since I'll be doing a lot of traditional inking, like for that, like that's perfect, for traditional media. It's like, it's kind of rad. It looks great. It looks super professional,
Well, it makes me look fancier than I am, I think. But
isn't that what we're all doing?
I didn't see the Scott's conversation. What kind of camera is it?
The gist of it is,
Are you going to draw on the back of your paper and show me?
I was just about to do that, and I realized, I can't do that with this. Yeah. Where do I have some paper? Hey, I found some. Okay, so it's basically this is the setup for it, and then mine has a little triangular weighted base.
Yeah.
This unit folds down into here.
Okay.
Right here is a camera and a light, so I can beef up this light or tune this light down.
Okay.
and this folds into here, so it just looks like some sort of crazy obelisk standing on your desk.
Gotcha.
And so what that lets you do is put your drawing surface here or here, and it lets you scan up to like 18 by 24, I think, for an image, and it takes a big photo or it shoots video. And the intention of the shooting video is so a teacher can make notes on a piece of paper, and you put that through your laptop into an opaque, like a big projector, put it up
so
on
it's
a wall.
like a lot like a modern day overhead projector, basically.
Yeah.
Overhead projector, which is funny because I have an old school overhead projector in my house.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really?
Because I used to use that for beefing up some paintings. As I was doing some mural work, I would do it, draw it on acetate, and then project it up onto the wall. So
cool.
Anyway, this is a Sasquatch book that I've just illustrated for this company, and so that's what this stuff here is. And I did some, so the book's all drawn and it's all colored and lettered and everything else now. And then I did painted a cover for it, So now one of the tiers that's been added, because the company's running it through Kickstarter. We're paying for the printing and everything all in advance, but the company's running it through Kickstarter. And one of the tiers that was set up is that he said, "Hey, what about sketch cards? Because I'm not a sticker and everything and variant cover guy.
Yeah.
It's never really been my bag. So years of working in a comic store makes you really sick and tired of variant covers. I like variant covers because, the option of choice is fantastic, but it is one of those things that I think is, unfortunately, I'd see a lot of people come into the shop not interested in the books, not interested in the writing.
Yep.
They
it's
just
the speculators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They burn me out.
I think that's one of the biggest critiques I have of people who kind of complain about the current comic industry and say like, oh, it was just so booming in the 90s during Image's peak and like we've just lost so much. I think they're forgetting that like a lot of the 90s peak was like not comic readers. Like a lot of it was just people like wanting like the extra special foil cover that they thought was gonna, appreciate in value. And to me, I think there's a lot more comic readers today than there were then, At least readers. I don't know about buyers, but readers for sure.
Well, the market's fine. I mean, you hear all this doom and gloom stuff, and you hear all these crazy assertions about how everything's being challenged and it's all falling apart and so on and so forth. DC's fine, Marvel's fine, the major companies are fine. The major companies aren't actually DC and Marvel, they're Scholastic and Viz, but they sell far more than Marvel and DC do. But Marvel and DC have the movies, so it's a different headspace to be sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Josh, what you typically talk about on your stream about the layout and the things that you can do in comics, storytelling in comics that you can't do in other mediums, is what I love about comics. And it's a contrast to what you were talking about in the 90s or speculators that just look at the cover.
Yeah.
I really enjoy your stream because of that, because I love the storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah.
The unique storytelling abilities of comics, sequential art.
Yeah.
Not that Todd McFarlane doesn't do a great job of it. He's obviously,
No, I mean, and I, as a kid, I loved McFarlane, like his run on Spider-Man was amazing. And like Spawn was like the cool, like when I was in, 7th grade or whatever, like Spawn was like the coolest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, yeah, like the I think the cartoonists, I think we're both in a similar boat where the cartoonists we appreciate now are like the ones that really play with the medium and like push it somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I mean, there's
Yeah.
no, like I'm as I have Batman. But I like capes and tights and superheroes that just don't interest me at all. I like just stories. I like a variety of stories. From your autobiographical two stories to detective stories to what sci-fi Sasquatch. There's just
Yeah.
no limit to it. And yeah, where's this fascination with tights and capes? I don't get it really. But
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of get it because there's some that I love, like,
yeah.
and I am definitely the market for it, like if a new like Marvel related thing comes out, I usually watch it, like, there's a place for that, but I do think like it's so fun when there's more than that, like,
Yeah.
I always kind of compare it to like if you were to go to a bookstore to buy a book and you only have like the mystery section or something. Which, by the way, mysteries are great, but just imagine
Right.
if like the whole shelf was just Agatha Christie's,
Yeah.
then things like Knives Out or stories like that wouldn't be really special because that's all you'd be getting.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what happens quite often with superhero stuff, where we're watching the same like 3 stories with like different characters swapped out for the other ones,
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Paul, you do a really good like mystery actually. It's a pretty fun like high fantasy mystery. Let me see if I don't have it with me.
No, that's all right. Yeah, I appreciate your. I appreciate your what do you call it? Your
mention. Detective Perez, though, if you guys want to check those out, they're really good.
Yeah, there's some spike in sales in Detective Perez recently because of.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that's
well, I love it. I think it's a really good book series. It's like it's really masterful cartooning too. Like you really have a good handle. Christopher, where can people go to like check out the Kickstarter for what you're working on right now? If like say I wanted a sketch card or something.
It launches on the 15th.
Okay. You'll have to like hop on Artcasters or something to promote it too.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's nice.
That looks fantastic with those faces peeking through the leaves like that. That is really cool, Chris.
Well, I'm just playing with different medium each time, right? So I've got watercolor with pencil, and I'm going in with some paint pen. That's what this is on this side. And then there's just drawing with paint pen. This is pencil crayon with just wash. It's just layers of watercolor, and then I cut a yellow paint pen at the end.
How cool are those paint pens? Like it's amazing. It's amazing how much I did an album cover for a friend of mine years ago, like on just wood board with like spray paint, like just splattered like acrylic paint and then paint pens, and it was like I couldn't believe how like advanced those are nowadays. They aren't like the old one that you have to like shake and you hear this like and then like the second you draw, you're like about to pass out from paint fumes.
These do all shake.
Right? Those look like the newer kind that have like the marker tip.
They do, but they're you still got to shake them. And I've got different brands and different sizes because I'm just collecting whatever I can. Right? And it's but you get different results. Like you can get some really sort of I don't know, it feels like a day glow paint sort of an energy that comes in.
Yeah, from here it looks like one of those those posters
those felt things.
Yeah, those felt things, back from the 70s or something.
Yeah.
Holly Brown said, great topics. Love having something to listen to. Holly, if you want to hop on too, I can send you a link. But if you're just kind of in the zone working on stuff and listening, that's fine too.
And some of this is just felt markers.
So rad.
Just doing whatever. And then here's just drawing in white on a colored cardstock. Like just
I love the fact that you're just like drawing on orange paper and green paper and black paper.
Yeah, I
You
think
know?
one of the things I really appreciate about you, Christopher, is like you really approach things like seeing you work really reminds me of all the play and experimentation I
Yeah.
did in school and
Oh,
then
yeah.
kind of forgot about a little bit. And so I think it's really cool that you I don't know, it's really
It's
inspiring
kind
to
of
see
wild.
you going wild with the mixed
Yeah.
media because
I don't think
why
I've
not?
ever let it go.
Yeah.
I've never stopped doing it. Like I'm I'm in a good place right now when it comes to being able to just explore and
Yeah.
chase after some of those ideas that I've got in my head, or some of these notions and how I want to approach stuff. I did a video earlier today with my grandkids.
I saw it. Yeah, that was amazing. I need to comment on your videos after I watch them. I just realized that's very selfish of me to watch your
Oh,
videos and
no.
because
It's
I tend to be the guy who I'll lurk during a stream.
yeah, nice.
Yeah, sometimes.
I tend to be the guy who says something inane. But I was just going through all the different things just that I have on my desk, and my kids are and my grandkids are so used to it that Lily, who's 11 now, she's talking about all the things that aren't on my desk as well. What are these? These are pastels and Grandpa's got. And she really loves things like this, and we'll find things like this at the dollar store. This is a marker.
Is
Yeah,
that one of those ones you can fill up with water or ink?
No. I thought, well, if I'm going to get some more of these, which is what you're talking about, the paintbrushes that you can fill up with water.
Okay.
That's great, but if this has actually got that color of ink in it, oh, that's even cooler. And so we bought a whole bunch of these, my grandkids and I, at the dollar store. And Lily loves that these are brush markers.
Yeah,
and
those
so
are awesome.
She's over. But I've just got Contes and charcoals and.
Philip said those are amazing.
Oh, that's very nice. Thanks. I'm just playing and having fun and not getting too hung up on what I'm doing and just going for it. And I think, like you said, Josh, sometimes we lose that stuff. I never did. I went to a thing called Beal Art here in London, and Beal Art was attached to Beal Secondary School, which is a technical high school, and they had an art annex. And so you could sign up and be taught art by professionals working in the field that all had their teaching accreditation. And so I did Beal Art and got married and had kids. And so I never went on for my education. So that was it for me. And so I think that maybe not going any further in school has sort of arrested me in that place.
Yeah.
That I've never stopped working and exploring every possible medium that comes my way.
I think that's perfect though, and I think that's one of the benefits that I felt like I got in art school too, was when I went on to do my graduate program, before I kind of settled on doing just a black and white inked comic, I was taking all these life drawing and life painting classes that were extra classes where you're doing special studies and stuff with these master painters. Wow. And it's that allowed me to really enjoy that before I kind of found a visual identity. But even now, I love that that's an option, that if today, if I wanted to do oil paintings, I can do them. If I wanted to do life drawings, I can do them. If I wanted to work in watercolor, I can do it. It's that, but I do have to admit, after watching your stuff, I have about 2 books that are in a set style. Or I should say in a set 3 different styles, because 2 stories is always done in like 2. But it's like when I'm done with those, I'm very inspired by what you're doing. So I'm kind of hoping either between books or something, I want to do it just makes me want to paint again, you know? It makes me want to paint.
Painted. I used to show in I've shown in galleries. I started showing 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I hadn't painted in 8 years. And the other day, where did I put it? The other day I did this. I was just sitting down and I did a Caravaggio study. I don't know if this is going to show up. It might
Did
be
this study.
glare. But so the other day, I did this is the first thing I painted in 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Because I spend all my time working on paper. So I bought this board and went for it, you know. And
You know
so now,
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, like, one tip that I learned from Jeff Lafferty, who does like tons of painting.
yeah.
You can get MDF, like a big thing of MDF from like Home Depot for like $2.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sure
And
can.
if you have them, at Home Depot, usually they'll cut it for you into like a bunch of shapes. And so I basically just got a bunch of boards that I can paint on that are just like, they cost me like $2. And once they're cut down, they're the same as a canvas board, like a wood board that you'd buy at an art store to paint on.
Oh, yeah,
they're great. So you just gesso them up and you can just like do awesome paintings. I had no idea prior to Jeff telling me that like I had been spending way too much for like wood boards, you know. And you
Well,
just
that's what
paint
I did.
direct on MDF.
That's actually what I did. I have okay, so I started a family young, and my kids are all adults now, right? So
Yeah.
and my wife and I, our youngest is the only one that's at home, and he's 20.
By the way, your grandkids are adorable. You guys should watch that video. It's just like cute grandkids, adorable grandkids.
Yeah, I think my grandson at one point says that these markers make me fart. It's such a dorky thing, and yet he clearly catches me up when he says it because I'm a goofball that laughs to that. So, yeah. So because
Fart jokes are ageless. They're
Right.
they're evergreen.
Oh, of course. I don't remember what I was saying.
So you started your family young. Now you got your 20-year-old at home.
Now I'm at a point where I can just do this now without having to, you know, I got sick last year and I had a DKA. And
You had I'm sorry, what?
diabetic ketone acidosis.
Oh, no.
So I'm type 1 diabetic now. And so while we're still at the hospital, my wife just looks at me and just says, you know, you're retired now, right? she chose for me. I didn't argue, but yeah. So now it's because I needed time to get used to being a type 1 diabetic and all the meals. I just started working from home and forcing myself to do the thing that I always sort of didn't want to do, you know, and had lots of excuses from doing about just devoting myself full time to working creatively in the studio. Because I've been a comic book store manager for 21 years. And
Isn't it interesting how life can kind of do that? Like it can set you on a path and then like you can have a second path, you know? I don't know. I just think that's pretty cool.
No, you're right. You're exactly right. And there's all kinds of mental health challenges that come with that too.
Yeah.
I'm I've been used to for years working crazy late hours. Like it's 1 here. And because I'm used to only being able to get stuff done after my kids are in bed. And so now that I'm at this point, I can just do what I'm doing. And it's a real blessing in that, right? And so, because we're a faith-based family too, right?
Yeah.
And so I look at the gift of what that presented to me, and that I'm really lucky that my wife is so supportive and encouraging.
Yeah.
But I worked myself into the state where I got sick, and it's like, so the creative outlet that just working in a studio has been giving me it's like a second lease on life. And so, yeah, I'm really working my guts out now, and
I love it.
but just doing this and just having fun doing this. So
That's really neat.
I've been telling staff members where I work, like as an art director, and honestly, I need to heed this advice myself quite a lot. But it's like, usually as a creative, if you have even if you have a creative day job, you need to be feeding the beast of creativity. Otherwise, I think you'll feel like you have this like unsung song, and that's a weird feeling to have.
Yeah,
floating through your day if you're not working on it, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't draw anything today. And it feels weird.
Well, that's okay too. That's another thing I need to get
I
more
spent all day
with.
at an art show, so but
Nice.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Unsung, you have a way of putting things, Josh. That's really nice.
But it's like I also need to get better at taking breaks. I think part of why I had like a little mental episode was mainly just like, dude, I need to sleep sometimes, like I'm not superhuman. And I want to be like able to like not sleep, and that's not the case, so even this, like, I'm not going to be doing the like till 2 a.m. streams. I'll probably like wrap around 11 and then call it a night, because that's plenty of sleep. But anything beyond that's kind of, stretching the bounds of reason.
This is telling you, Josh, your misfortune was a gift for me, because I'm usually asleep by now. So, if you're going to be streaming earlier, then I'll be able to catch more.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Yeah. I should be starting them when I get home, like after I eat. So I think that'll work a little better.
It works for me.
So speaking of, I'm gonna disappear for a second. Do you guys want me to play a trailer, or would you like to just kind of let people know where to check out your stuff? Whichever is fine.
I want to hear where to check out your stuff.
All right, cool. So Christopher, why don't you let people know where to find your stuff, and then Paul, you can let them know as well, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Let's start with you, Paul.
Okay. You can find me at paulpate.com. There you'll find links to all of my artwork. I have books, graphic novels, comics. You can find a link to my animation efforts on YouTube, and all kinds of other nonsense. And then usually my latest artwork I update on Instagram. So there you go. That's me. How about you, Chris? Do I call you Chris, or is it Christopher?
I'm a Chris. Our youngest is a Chris. I'm in order so he doesn't get called Small Chris or Little Chris. I'm a Christopher and he's a Chris.
Okay.
Which is I've always just gone as Christopher anyhow, but that's sort of clinched it when my wife and I we fused our family. She had 2, I had 3.
Okay.
And so now we have 5 with a cat. So
nice.
But she is her youngest is named Chris. So
gotcha.
We try to spare him from being little Chris by just making my Christopher ironclad. So
gotcha.
But if you're comfortable saying Chris, I never get. I never get worked up about that with people. So.
And I don't know if I've told this story on air. I'm pretty sure I probably have, but why I go by Joshua instead of Josh is literally just an old internet feud that was very one-sided. I don't think the other Josh Kemble was aware of it. But at the time, I was trying to kind of get my business running, because this is like back when I was freelance, and like every time I Google like my name, which you're gonna do when you're building your SEO or whatever, it's like this guy, and at the time I was like an avid atheist too. And so this guy who was a Christian, like rock and roller or something, like had the same name, and it just drove me nuts. And finally, I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna go by Joshua. I can do Joshua, and that way I'll be the first result on that, and then he can have Josh. And it worked. But then it's funny because years later I like met his wife online, and she's like really sweet, and actually I'm pretty politically aligned with the other Josh Kemble now, and as well as religiously aligned, which is an odd thing actually quite often. So yeah,
I have my doppelganger, Paul Pate.
Yeah,
he was a very prominent Republican politician in Iowa.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know, right? And then so both my sisters live in Iowa, and they actually met, one sister actually ran into him, met him. So she took a picture together. They took a selfie together and sent it to me. I'm like, I gotta meet this guy sometime.
It's like your evil twin, Paul.
Yeah. So then,
like if you embrace the dark side, that would be
yeah,
weird.
yeah. So then she, after a while, she's like, "Wow, I really don't like that guy." So,
the only other Christopher Huntsman that's out there is there's tons of Christopher Huntsmans around the world. I've never actually met anyone with my name, with my last name.
Oh wow!
And because it's a weird one.
It is a unique last name, yeah.
It's in Scottish it means workhorse. The guy who takes care of the horses and collects the debts and the rents on suits of armor. So, classy. A negotiator, a talker. So, I've never met anybody with my name. And there are a few Christopher Huntsmans out there. The one that had ChristopherHuntsman.com forever is a dentist. And, clearly not me. My website's ChristopherHuntsman.ca. And, I do most of my posting and stuff on Instagram and Facebook, and it's always the same thing on both, or I do YouTube videos about whatever random thing that comes to mind in the moment, and but aside from all of the comic book stuff, I do paintings and write, and so we're actually at the point now where I'm talking to somebody about my writing that has absolutely no interest in my writing and drawing of comics on the side, which is maybe I can get representation. Well, I don't want to represent that stuff. All right. So.
It is tough. I don't know though. I will say, if you're looking for a writer's rep, keep an eye out, because there's a ton that really want people who write graphic novels, because they're kind of a viable thing now, and so it's you might be able to shop around for. Maybe you could have two. You could have one who reps your writing, and
I think I might have to if I'm going to work with this person.
Yeah.
And then the stuff I do in the indie films here in Canada is just mixed bag of whatever stuff is needed, visual wise for a project. So, the first film I did when I was at home from the DKA, I lost my sight when it happened, and this is my anniversary is actually 1 year on the 15th, and so I was temporarily blind.
Oh, wow!
That happened, and
what is with our art casters, and we just magically have blind people on all the time.
We talked about this that night, right?
Yeah.
And, it's because sugar collecting on the lens of the eye, and so my eyes it was just light and blurry for a while. But I started illustrating art for a film, and I still couldn't see. So you could see that first couple weeks is, oh, there's more and more line content as he goes. That's because there's a lot of shapes, a lot of big shapes.
Yeah.
Holy
moly.
But I don't know. That's me catching up for a quick break on where to find me and what I'm doing.
I love it. You guys should check out Christopher's stuff. It's really cool. And be subscribed to his YouTube. He does podcast YouTube's live streams, and they're really good. I recommend them.
Podcast. Thank you very much, by the way, Josh. It's nice.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until just yesterday or the day before Josh mentioned it, and I was like, oh, Christopher got a YouTube, so I just subscribed to you.
Well, I appreciate you jumping in. The name of my podcast is No One Wants to Listen to My Podcast. So it's kind of dumb, but it's fun.
I think that's a good way to go, though. It's like I think quite often like people appreciate a good sense of humor. It's like
I hope so.
yeah. Paul, did you let people know where they can find your stuff?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then so now I'm updating my website.
It's not a bad call.
We were watching Frank's.
Oh, hi, Adam. By the way, Adam's in the chat. Sorry.
Cool. We were watching Frank's stream earlier today, and Philip had come in, and we were just typing in the comments, and I was typing in the comments, and Frank said that almost the whole Maple gang's here except for Paul.
I love it. You guys are gonna have to like just wear like the leaf, the maple leaf.
Yeah.
Just like as a patch.
Yeah. Secret society.
It'll be like a brown.
So
I don't know. Yeah. Not so secret society.
White and red robes.
Yeah.
You just chant the word A.
This is a sore subject for me. I
ordered... You have the secret handshake, and you call people hoser. That's basically.
I got some maple leaf, eh? Beauty, eh?
So I ordered 2 jars of syrup from Alabama, and they mailed it to me. So I opened it up. I got one, and I went to mail the other one to my dad, and I left it in the box, taped it back up, took it to the post office, and the guy wouldn't mail it because he said it needed to be in a Ziploc bag. And I'm like, well, I'm mailing it in the same thing that I got it in, And he said, well, they didn't send it through the post. Yeah, I'm just irritated.
Oh, sure.
They just need it to be proofed so that when they completely destroy your package, it's it's got a plastic bag to hold the glass.
Yeah, that's basically what he said. He's just like, we don't want it to get broken and spill syrup all over some electronics or something. Sorry, man. I'm like, oh well.
I'm always mystified. Like my publisher shipped books, right? For the con that I ended up missing, but like they shipped me books and somehow it's like perfect packaging for books. But I swear, if they hadn't like padded the interior of that thing, it looked like they had just like hung the box on a rope and just took like a heavyweight boxer and were just like, go to town. And then, it's got like just dents in the corners and on the sides. And I was so worried when I got it. I was like, this is going to be like 50 books that are just totally destroyed. And it's like, no. Luckily, like the publisher knows better.
Yeah,
so I'll tell you guys that. At least I can vouch for Graphic Mundi. They ship their books real well, so don't worry about your books being damaged, and they do a pretty good job with that. but it still mystified. It just boggled the mind. It was like I have to like stretch my imagination to even figure out how you would fail at delivering a box that badly.
It's a strange thing when they do that. Like I don't think. Okay, so something was mentioned earlier this week, and that was that and I think Corey Kerr hit the nail on the head really fantastically. The level of empathy that artists have and the level of sensitivity that we have towards things.
Yeah.
And when you think about, oh, we're just going to mail you some stuff, and it's the most brutalized package that you've ever seen cross your threshold. And it just happens to be the package that has your things in it that you've made. It'd be like somebody, airdropping a baby out of an airplane towards your house. Maybe that might be extreme.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, I do think like to an extent, like we're really it's one of the reasons it's really hard to write or make stuff is like we are very empathetic people, and honestly, we're not like even the artists that I know that are kind of like thick skinned. It's like that thick skin's only so thick. Like it's not really that thick. Like you do kind of pour your heart into these things, and so like it is kind of a hard practice to be able to sort of separate from the thing maybe you dedicated, so many hours on or years on or months on. It's a tough thing, but yeah, especially when it's like that thing and then it's delivered badly. That can be really tough. Although to be fair, I do want to defend our postal system a little bit. I do think we have one of the best postal systems in the world. So I will say that like they're not perfect, but I don't know. I feel like the post office here is pretty amazing, like what they accomplish, where it's like
I have a childhood friend who's a mailman, and he, broke it down for me, kind of what the post office represents and the mailman represents, and yeah, because now that they're sort of under threat,
yeah.
with all of the Amazon delivery and FedEx and da. But yeah, what it represents is even for like community, you have this this person, it's the security of it that you can rely on this service.
Yeah.
And
also like there's areas of the US that like you can't FedEx to,
Right. Yeah.
Like because like it's kind of like it's hard for somebody like even like me who lives in like an area that's like LA County, so it's very populated. Even the AV, like even though it's on the outside of LA, it's like right at the edge of LA County. It's still, hundreds of thousands of people live here. So it's like we're going to get service, but like
right.
If I start going up to like Bakersfield and then Mojave and like driving a little further north, it's like there's sections that would never get mail if we got rid of the post office,
Right.
The fact that they're able to do that is really cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome to the show where we talk about the post office.
Why not?
You guys are tuning in.
So I mailed I mailed some books to Scott Circlin. And when he told me his address, how many times do you think that when Scott tells people his address, they don't believe him? Because he lives in a town called Surprise.
I have told the obvious joke to Scott multiple times where when something happens in his town, I'm like, was that a big surprise there? He's like, it's like when people go, just Joshin'. And you're like, ah.
Oh yeah, my son hates that. One of my sons is named Joshua, and he hates that so much when people say, "Just Josh, Nick. Josh, you're right." I'm the only one that calls him Joshua. He's hey, what's up? I'm Josh. He's that guy. But he still lets me call him Joshua. But he gets the Joshua comments all the time.
One of my favorite series of books. If you guys haven't read these books, I really recommend them. I got Kevin Cross into them, and he really dug them too. But like when he lived here, I was like, dude, you have to like listen to these audiobooks. They're like the best audiobooks ever. There's this series called Off to Be the Wizard. It's like the Magic 2.0 series. And I recommend it as an audiobook because the readers are just excellent for it. But anyhow, like the basic premise is like it's like about these wizards it's like a kid finds this code. This isn't blowing anything because this is revealed in the first like 10 pages. He finds a piece of code that can edit reality. And so he starts and it's like a Word doc. It's like nothing special, but if he like says something and it'll like give him his money in his bank account, all this stuff.
Oh, cool.
He messes with the code and then ends up getting arrested and eventually finds out, like, he decides that to escape arrest, he's going to travel to an area in time where he can have these magic abilities where people would just think it's magic and not realize it was like a cheat code. And so he goes back in time to medieval era only to find out there's like all these guys pretending to be wizards that have found the hack in the code.
Oh, that's so great.
But anyhow, like,
wow.
and they kind of introduce him to like the wizard laws and all of this different wizard stuff and how to do macros and all this stuff. But the catch is, like, throughout it, there's this on-running joke where whenever they're talking about their staff, they're like, you can't make the obvious joke. It's so good. Anyhow, I love that.
I would really hope that they would stick to the cliche of the nerd for the wizard group.
Oh yeah, they're all total geeks. Yeah.
I am Melthor, the Enchanter, and I will make this happen.
It's really well done. Yeah, but it definitely it's all the nerds.
That's excellent. What's that called again? I gotta write it down.
The Magic 2.0 series. They're by Scott Meyer, who actually was a web cartoonist for a while, but now he's like a best-selling author. And if you have like Audible or whatever, I'd recommend it. Especially if you like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like,
oh, you betcha.
Yeah. So if you like Douglas Adams, you'd probably dig it. It's pretty good.
I've even got the sequel to it written by what's his name? Eoin. Oh, I can't remember the guy's name now, but there's an additional book.
The Restaurant at the End of the Universe?
No, that's number 2. But there's a seventh book after or 6th book, I'm sorry, after the 5 that Douglas did.
What's that one called? Because I may not have read it.
Yeah, hold on, I'll go get it.
I used to like read those books in like junior high. Did you know he worked with a bunch of the members of Monty Python?
Oh yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. He was like a radio. He wrote a lot of stuff for radio.
It's Eoin Colfer. It's
cool.
I am a super nerd, so.
Oh, me too. So that's okay.
My studio is a library, and so here's. Oh, that's just his biography. There's your Hitchhiker's Restaurant, Life, the Universe, and Everything. So long and thanks for all the fish.
Nice.
Mostly harmless. And the last thing was that short story called Young Safeodd Plays It Safe. And then this guy wrote part 6 of 3, because it was only ever supposed to be a trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And this is Eoin Colfer. And another thing.
Oh my gosh! And it's related. Is it good?
That's all right.
I might have to get that.
Part 6 of 3.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. I brought up.
I love Douglas Adams
because he writes things like Arthur Dent had that particular English personality defect where he dissected any compliment he gave shortly after giving it, effectively hobbling himself. Like
I love it.
Like Adams does. So.
My favorite line of Douglas Adams is the spaceship hurtled through the air in a way exactly as bricks don't.
I was like, hey, Earthman. I just love that Zaphod calls Arthur Dent Earthman. And you know that was supposed to be Doctor Who, right?
Oh, Gary, not only should it make you feel like a bad geek, but you should read it like tomorrow. Like, it is so good. And I think they have audiobooks too. So there's no excuse. You have homework now, Gary. Although, to be honest, I don't believe in geek guilt because honestly, there's so many cool things out there. It makes sense we're going to miss some of them, you know.
There's
Gary, I haven't read it either.
I'm sorry.
Shame on you, Paul. Goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. I was gonna just jokingly for like 2 seconds.
Drop me.
But I can't figure out how. So I don't want to actually boot you. So that's why
it take too much effort to actually boot me.
There's a great film that they did a few years ago with Martin. Yeah, I can't remember his last name.
Martin Freeman?
Martin Freeman, thank you. And Mos Def plays Ford Prefect. And Mos Def is perfect in that role.
Yeah, I didn't like the movie as much as the book, but I have to say him and the voice, what was it? The guy who plays Snape, Severus Snape. Is that actor's name?
Yeah. Where he did the voice of Marvin the robot?
Yeah. He was great. It's the dude from Die Hard too. Like
he died recently here.
Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Did he die?
Yeah, he passed away.
Oh, geez.
A few years ago.
Yeah, I tried to watch that movie and I couldn't get through it. You know, only because I probably just fell asleep from being tired or something.
It's not as good. It just doesn't translate as well as the books. But it was okay. It just wasn't like. I don't think it accurately. I think the problem is like a lot of the humor in Douglas Adams's writing is in wordplay. Yeah. And a lot of it's his descriptive wordplay when he's talking about actions that are happening, not just the dialogue. So like taking something like it'd be kind of like trying to make Catcher in the Rye as a movie. I just don't see that working, you know.
Well, the one thing they really got a hold of was the Gogafrinchans, the aliens that are just the galaxy's bureaucrats, and they come from a planet where if you have an original, if you have a thought, a sort of snake creature with a spatula end hops out of the sand at your feet and smacks you in the face. And so they're bureaucrats. They don't do original thoughts. And so they're going to blow up Earth in order to make way for an interstellar bypass. And this is the parallel to Arthur Dent, the principal character, has just found out that his house is about to be torn down to make way for an interstate bypass into the town he lives on the outskirts of. And so it's just this escalating series of climax, right?
So good.
Of dangers. But the best part about this race is that when they're about to blow up the Earth, they turn on some device that makes everything they could possibly use as a speaker reverberates with sound. And he announces the destruction of Earth by clicking on this antiquated microphone and saying, people of Earth. It's like the most apathetic thing you've ever heard. And Earth is announced to be destroyed.
It's a good series, man. It's just a good series. Oh.
Hey, I brought up. I don't know if you can see I've been working on animation, and so I work on it here. I thought I'd bring it up since you guys are.
I love that you're still rocking it on a G5 too, man. That's impressive.
Can you believe that? Look at that old.
That was literally my first computer. Was a G5. My first real computer. Other ones were always hand-me-downs.
But it works, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but here we go. Fight scene.
That is unbelievable.
Here
Holy crap!
I don't know if you can.
Oh man!
See.
Do you mind cycling that again? Because
this is now I put it in.
Jeez.
Can you see it?
There
Yeah,
you go.
that's incredible.
Well done, sir.
Thanks.
Yeah, Paul doesn't mess around with the animation. Like, so how many frames per second would that be?
12.
It's pretty incredible, man. Yeah, Paul doesn't mess with the crazy limited animation. You do full out animation.
Yeah. I can't help myself, and it takes so long. I can't wait to be done.
So, one question that I'm kind of curious about. Do you guys remember the time? Like, you guys have seen Akira, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the first time you saw Akira, and then like, how did it impact you?
I saw it the year it came out. Or no, I'm sorry. It was the year it came out here, to be more clear, because it was a few years after.
Nice.
And there was a repertory theater here in London that had an animation festival. And by a stroke, the guy managed to get it there. And I don't think I thought straight for the next 2 days.
Huh.
Such a game changer.
Yeah, I was just because the fluidity of that animation kind of reminded me of that rad motorcycle. You know, everybody remembers the slide. You know, in Akira, where it's like he's in this like two-person fight. They're both fighting on motorcycles, right?
Yeah.
And then he skids back, and you see it go back with like the trail of smoke.
Yeah.
And it's just like insane because I forget what rate they animated it at. I think they
What rate?
Crazy.
Don't they do like 30 frames per second or something?
Yeah, it was something insane where it's like it's almost like not even necessary, but it's so smooth. How beautiful that was. I was just thinking about that.
I just started watching Primal a little earlier today. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
I haven't seen Primal. What is that?
Oh, great.
It's
What's it? Tartakovsky?
yeah, it's Genndy Tartakovsky. He's the guy that did like Powerpuff Girls and Samurai Jack.
Oh,
Clone
sweet.
Wars. The first Clone Wars webisodes.
Sorry, Christopher, what'd you say?
He did the first Clone Wars webisodes.
Oh yeah, right. That too. Yeah, that's right.
Right? Yeah, that show's really cool.
Sorry, so what is the name of it again?
Primal.
Where do you watch it? Like, is it on Netflix or?
I'm watching it on Amazon, and it's not free.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's on Cartoon Network originally. But I don't know how to get it other than pay for it on Amazon. So it wasn't terrible. It was like $8.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, so it's really great animation, great storytelling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you like Samurai Jack, you'll love Primal.
I love the shape. Like Samurai Jack, I think to me my favorite part of that, more than even the character art, is just the background animation. Is like the background frames, like the way they did backgrounds on that is like some of the most amazing.
Yeah.
Like just simple graphic, like, you know, Saul Bass style, like just solid. Oh, it's so good.
It's all about shapes, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a love that came out of Akira for me, of a different director actually, because one of the Sam Tate must have seen it over 10 times by now. It just came up on the screen. Yep. Satoshi Kon was one of the ADRs on Akira. And if you've seen his films, he did Three Godfathers, Paprika, Millennium Actress.
Oh wow, Paprika is amazing too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's one of my favorite DVDs that I own. Is Paprika. You might know it in North America as Inception. there's a lot of his films in Inception. It's
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
influencing project.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Dude, I just still vividly remember I lived in a very kind of conservative house. Like, not that they were, I had good parents and stuff, but they were like the type that like wouldn't let me watch like rated R movies and stuff like that, right? And I had a pen pal. This is back when like Akira was kind of hard to get a hold of, but I had a pen pal in San Francisco that I met through the Max, the comic book. We were both Max heads, and then we started writing each other letters. And she had made a copy of her Akira pirate that she had, so it was a copy of a copy, and like recorded it over like a bad home video or something, and then sent it to me. And so I watched Akira on this like copy of a copy of a copy VHS tape, and I was watching it, and I got away with watching it twice, and then the third time I had friends over spending the night, and I was like, you guys have to watch Akira. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And my parents walked out right when it's that scene where they're just mowing people down with a machine gun, and it just and it shows a dog get in frame, and the dog just gets shredded by the bullets. And my dad just walks up to the VCR, stops it, pulls out the tape, and is like, you aren't keeping this. And I was like, damn it. But that was my wow. It was like it felt like this. For me, that was such a relieving scene. Like, I know it's terrible to say because you have a dog getting killed, but I just loved the realism of that, because in so many movies you'll have like a horse in a gunfight, and like the horse doesn't get hurt at all. Right. Everyone else gets hurt. And it was such a touch of realism that they added that,
Wow. The first time I saw Akira was my son was watching it, so I've never watched it. So maybe I'll check it out.
It's pretty stunning just for like the fluidity of the movement. Like it's pretty amazing.
It only captures so many of the books. There's 6 volumes of these books, and what happens in that film is really there's whole story plots that are dropped. There's whole character arcs that are dropped. But what the film does is encapsulates the entire essence of the series, and I really recommend people read those comics as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, the work. And what's stunning is that he was working on those comics while he was kind of like directing the movie. It's unbelievable, kind of crazy genius kind of moment. I'll be right back. I'm going to disappear for a second. So, do you guys want to plug your stuff, or are you okay with like a trailer?
I put a trailer on.
All right, let's. So this will be about a minute. Here we go. This is trailer for Jacob's Apartment.
Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we be these things we've seen and walk around. At the seams.
said Samurai Jack was always a great show. I never thought of it as a kid's show.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
For
He also
sure.
said Akira was mind-blowing the first time I saw it. I must have seen it 10 times by now. Yeah, I watched it a lot as a kid. I haven't watched it since, really, in a long
So
time.
when did it come out originally?
Like the 80s,
Akira?
I think.
80.
Yeah.
The 80s? Really?
Oh yeah, it started an entire type.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was sort of the thing that popularized, like, Japanese animation in the U.S.
Okay.
But it's like, it was a bomb. I think it was like a major failure, like in the
first
box office in Japan. And then when it was released here, it had like a total second life because people were just like, this thing's insane, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those early steampunk projects, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, my son watches a lot of anime, and he would have it on, just all the time.
Paul, I feel like we got to get you collaborating with Philip because he's a old school animator. Like he used to do in-betweens and like a bunch of stuff for animation firms. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. No, so that fight scene was actually part of it. One guy I did rotoscoping on. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what rotoscoping is.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is
Actually,
what's that?
Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah, and it's really there's an art to it. I'm trying. I have a friend, Matt Smith. He's online.
Did he do those actual moves, or I mean, because that's
I took video. Found video online, of people doing these moves, and then you just trace over the moves. But you got to find the right frames.
Yeah.
And then I rearrange it so that it's in the timing that I want. But if you pick the right frames, then it looks really smooth.
That's really cool.
If you pick the wrong frames, it looks terrible. So,
yeah, I could imagine, right? Because like it's kind of like the Kirby laws of like action, where it's
exactly.
Like when you're doing comics or whatever, if you're showing a punch, you rarely want to show like the middle.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
'Cause it'll just look like a weak ass punch at that point.
Right.
You want to show like the cocking back or like the
you want to show
through.
Here,
yeah,
and then whap, bam.
And even you almost don't even want to show the contact. Like that was the great thing about Kirby. He'd rarely show like the hand connecting to a face. He'd show the hand after it had hit the face, and you'd have like a beam here.
Yeah.
And I think I just accidentally punched my microphone. So my apologies to the listeners. Philip was saying he did background layout and some posing and a little in-betweening, but wasn't great at it. Okay. Sorry for getting that wrong.
So modest, Philip.
Philip's, I don't know if did you guys see the crazy, let me see if I have it here. Here, I have to go to full cam. I mean, look at that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
And it's so gestural and like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that kind of artwork.
Yeah.
You got it up in your house now?
I'm gonna probably end up printing one and framing it.
I think you need like a fat head of that. Put it on the wall size,
Yeah, I would love it. But yeah, that's really cool.
Really great.
Yeah. So don't let Philip undersell his skills. He's a skilled artist. He has a good YouTube channel too. He did a couple walkthroughs of perspective that I think people might find helpful if they like, because we've had David Chelsea on the show, and David Chelsea is like the master of perspective.
Gotcha.
We've had him on Artcasters a few times, but like sometimes when David's talking about perspective, like his books, by the way, everybody should own those books, but his books on perspective. But sometimes when he's talking about it, he gets so deep, like he'll start talking about how to do perspective on a globe, and it's like really confusing. When Philip does it on his channel, it's like he does very like basic breakdowns of just typical perspective that you use as an artist, and it's really nice and very easily digestible and cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd recommend both. Check out Philip's stuff on Perspective, and also check out Chelsea's too.
Okay. Gosh, yeah, I didn't know Philip had a. I don't know why I shouldn't assume.
No, I'm just pimping out everybody's YouTube channels.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, man. It's great.
That's great. It's really noble to do that.
But I kind of want us to like have a online community. Like I've noticed Marshall's doing a lot more streaming lately. Adam's been doing a ton of streaming. So, and by the way, Adam, if you're still listening, I did send you a link if you wanted to hop on. So you're welcome to. But yeah,
Philip is the barefoot beekeeper? No.
I think if you put Philip Chandler art,
Okay.
he'll be the first thing.
Sorry, this darn internet thing is just it's got me flummoxed.
The interwebs.
There we go.
It's a series of tubes, right?
Yeah, I just got Adam's comic in the mail a couple days ago, and I owe him a picture. Great artwork in that one.
Wait, who do you owe a picture? Sorry.
I owe him a selfie with me holding his book.
Oh yeah. The Toad Road. It's really
Toad
fun.
Road.
He's a good cartoonist, man. He's got some chops. And very funny. Very, very funny.
Yeah, wacky.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a nude selfie actually with his book.
That would be great. Have the book covering.
Yeah. Well, only partially covering.
I forget what that's from. There was a British TV show that used to call that your kibbles and bits that you'd be covering.
Sausage and veg. That's a terrible thing about there's a degree of Britishness in Canada, in my family definitely, but the amount of different descriptions that are for the different parts of the body, it's just absurd. Yeah, twig and berries, the whole, it never ends. It just goes on and on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a portion of anatomy that tends to be slightly humorous, so I can see why. Yeah.
Did you? Okay, so you started before you mentioned you started Sam Keith with the Max. Did you? I started with Epicurus the Sage.
Oh wow!
Which is the series he did before the Max.
I've never even heard of that one.
Oh my goodness, you got to read them. It's absolutely fantastic.
The Sage
drawing Greek mythology.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Is it called the Sage?
Epicurus.
Oh, Epicurus. Oh, okay.
That sounds badass. Because I did, I do still have it. I rarely open my long box anymore. But there was a collection of a lot of Sam Keith's like indie stuff that Fantagraphics released called I Before E. And I absolutely love that because it's like you get to see Sam Keith just draw like some fart jokes. And he has like these really seedy underground comics that he used to do. Very like shock oriented comics. But they're really beautifully done. It's interesting because it's like I didn't know he was doing another series too. Because I did like he did like a feel like he did like Wolverine too.
Oh yeah, he did a Wolverine run that was in Marvel Comics Presents. He also did For Women.
For Women is great.
He's done a number of different projects, but
there was one little side thing after the Max too called Friends of Max.
Yep.
And that was really incredible too. But the thing that I like about Sam Keith is it seemed like when he was able to, he really just wanted to do slice of life stuff, you know?
Yep. Well, that's one of the things that I was gonna get you to come and join StreamYard and come be on No One Wants to Listen to My podcast with me. I think that the beautiful thing about this medium has really got to be the fact that anything goes.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Yeah.
there's so many different genres that we can work in.
Yeah.
We can cross those genres. We can cross pollinate different type of story, different types of character content. You can have a fantastic sci-fi space romp, and then halfway through it, have some absolutely tragic thing happen to a character, and then turn your sci-fi space romp into just a bare bones revenge story. Like, it's just, there's so much that we can do with in this genre.
Yeah.
All of it's valid. All of it's absolutely valid. So to be able to find Keith doing Spice of Life stuff at the same time doing, illustrating the first 10 issues of Sandman with Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, which, by the way, anyone who hasn't checked out the Sandman, you guys are really missing out. Like, it's a masterful series.
There are a few greater comics
Yeah.
than with the single issue Dream of a Thousand Cats.
Oh, geez, yes.
He takes a sidestep in his series to tell the perspective of the world from cats.
So good. And by the way, cat perspectives too, probably influenced by Cages, which is another unsung book that like a lot of people don't own and they should. Like,
yeah.
Dave McKean, when he does ink, man, and it's just like straight ink, like a lot of people associate him with like the collage work and the photography, but a lot of people don't see like just the beautiful, like what I don't know what to call the style other than like a French line style. It's like the same kind of style that Disney did in the backgrounds of like 101 Dalmatians, where it's like got a lot of blot, like it's ink blot, or what's his name?
Sankovich.
Yeah, oh yeah, show off that book. I mean, this is a book people should own. But it also tells a little bit. The intro is like through a cat. So beautiful.
So here's how this book begins, folks. Right?
It is so beautiful.
Look at the movement and aesthetic panels.
This is what you're, a lot of what you talk about on your stream, Josh.
Yeah.
This kind of thing, like that's unique to comics right there.
Oh yeah, and I mean this is easily
both of those pages.
Yeah, that's easily my favorite.
No dialogue there at all, right?
Yeah.
And then we follow him down a fire escape.
So good.
Right? So, top looking down, traveling down, looking in windows, witnessing what the denizens of the building are doing.
See, this is why I love Christopher Runciman. It's like I'll mention pavement, and then he will quote, "What about the voice of Geddy Lee?" And I'm like, "Oh, sweet, pavement." And then I mention Cages, and you just bust it out. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a nerd.
Wow.
But he does this thing here where he does. You really are the doziest great super I ever see, Mr. Cat. And you really get the Jamaican patois out of the way he writes. Nothing wrong with that, no. If you really get that from the characters. But the beautiful thing about it is, this book is thick.
Oh, yeah.
This is all of them in one.
It's a Bible.
And they'll drop it on your toe. I met Dave McKean in Toronto. Dave McKean is one of my favorite artists. And so I met him in Toronto, and it was kind of a strange situation to meet him because some fellows that I knew that were farther ahead in the line were debating about how many different copies exist of what is actually my favorite comic called Violent Cases.
Oh, yeah.
Dave McKean. And so they said, well, Runciman will know. Runciman, how many copies of Violent Cases do you own? They showed back to me in the line, and I said, I got 6. You're such a dork. And I said, well, yeah, one of them's a double. So when I go up and I meet Mr. McKean, and I got the really cool opportunity to have a photo with him and to give him a copy of one of my books, the Apex book I did. It's all in blue ballpoint pen. And so I give it to him. He goes, and he looks and he goes, "Oh, okay, thank you." And then he opens it and he goes, "Oh, okay, thank you." And it was like, okay, that just makes you feel really good inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, it's really been quite nice to me, and I greatly appreciate it. And he says, "Well, would you like a photo or something to remember it by?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And then the thing that happens a lot for me happens where, Dave McKeon's 5'8", I'm 6'6", and so when he stands up, he says, "Oh, what do I do?" Because, I don't want to be like this idiot, and yeah. So I immediately become a child in my head again. And it's like that was one of a really lovely moment to be able to meet Dave McKeon, and it's a person that get excited to meet that so many other people I know that love comics go, "Who?"
Yeah, I'm surprised by that though, because like he's just such a great, like he also does some really good kids books too.
Oh, he sure does.
Like
the day
Day I
I
Swapped.
my dad for. Were you going to say that?
Yep.
The Day I Swapped My Dad for 2 Goldfish.
Yeah.
I've got all the kids' books.
Yeah, they're so good. The Wolves in the Walls is great too. They're just really neat.
There's something about that guy.
Go ahead.
No, it's just something about him. It's just something about his creative talent. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, and I love that he, much like I can see your interest in him too, because he uses tons of mixed media. Like he's one of the most out of the box kind of approaches to art, which I love.
Yeah.
I was gonna mention Shannon Wheeler, when I was like nobody, like I mean, not that I'm anybody now, but at the time I was like still like an undergrad in school, and I had finished Numb, and I was trying to get pull quotes because Jeff Mason from Alternative Comics was giving me advice on like how to launch the book, because I had got the Zarek for it, and Jeff was like, "You want pull quotes from bigger cartoonists, like that'll help sell your book." Because it was going to be carried in Diamond, and he's like, just get some good pull quotes. So I approached all these different people. Nobody gave me the time of day, and I had made photocopied copies of Numb, like my comic, and was like, "Here, have it, and if you like it, give me a quote." The first person to give me a quote was Shannon Wheeler.
Oh, nice.
And I loved Shannon Wheeler in high school. Like I used to get Too Much Coffee Man, and then like he even had a magazine called Too Much Coffee Man magazine, and it was like something we'd kind of trade like with in the punk world. Like it was like that, and like Evan Dorkin's like Milk and Cheese were like the most like kind of silly but existential and deep comics. Anyhow, so his quote was like still to this day one of my favorite quotes, where he said, "This is better than like 99% of the comics that have been given to me."
Good feeling.
And I love that he's such a like funny guy that he was like, "I really liked it though, so like if that's too silly, I'll give you like a purer quote." And I was like, "No, that's perfect."
Oh, that's perfect, man.
Yeah. So,
oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
and I think
every other person that gave him a book goes, "Was I one of the 1% too?"
but it was just a good one, you know. It kind of reminded me of yeah, and like him and Alex Robinson too is one of the like nicest people in comics. Was very supportive when I was first going.
Box Office Poison?
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he gave me a pull quote for Jacobs too.
Nice,
so
man.
yeah, I don't know if that ended up on the book though.
What's his name?
Alex Robinson. He did Box Office Poison. You know what? We should do like a list of like underrated comics. I feel like Box Office Poison and Alex Robinson is very underrated, even though he was up for Eisner's. You know, he's still like, I feel like people have forgotten how good he is.
Which is sad.
Yeah. What was his? There is one book he made that I haven't bought yet, and this is making me think I should do it.
I really only read his Box Office Poison. I discovered him the same time I discovered Ted Nyfa, who was doing Gloom Cookie.
Oh, nice.
And then I'm like, this guy he is just solid storytelling. This isn't my world, the LA goth scene, but like just solid character storytelling, and he really got a hold of the melancholy of youth. And there's a lot of people that say things like, those books, they got you, cheer up. These books should be. No, it's an absolute fantastic thing to be able to explore the meaninglessness of being a teenager and not fitting in. And he just happens to throw them into, some of the kids that hang out at the goth bar actually are vampires or fairies or stuff. He just takes leaps with it because it's his book and he can do that if he wants. But it's just, there's a joy in that. And I'm like, this guy he's really going to go somewhere. I'm just sure of it. And eventually he comes up with Courtney Crumrin.
Oh, I love that series so much.
Yeah, but to watch that sort of path of development for him to further on his own create own projects, it's like, just waiting for it to happen, really.
Well, his artwork is beautiful. I'm looking at it right now. It's beautiful.
Ted Nefay or Alex Robinson?
Alex Robinson, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's such nice work.
He's great. I can't explain. Like, I feel like Box Office Poison, like, I think he knows this too. I think that's like his best work.
Sure.
He's written other stuff like Too Cool to Be Forgotten and Tricked, and then he just recently, kind of under the radar, released one which I want to pick up because I think it deals with some of the characters, I think, as they've gotten older, and so I'd be really curious to kind of check that out. But
come across Tony Sandoval's work?
No.
Please write that down. Please write Tony Sandoval down.
I'm going to right now.
Oh my goodness, I really love what he does. And beautiful books. They're in landscape formats for the most part. It's these big washes with these sort of childlike characters and these really human stories.
I love it.
It's like Nate Powell's work. If you haven't checked out Nate Powell's comics, he's the artist that illustrated March. About the 1,000-Man March.
He did a comic about the 1,000-Man March?
Have you not read March? Yeah, write that one down.
Oh, March. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's who. Wait, isn't that Nate Powell?
Yeah. But I love Nate's own stuff as well as March. Sure, but what he does on his own is just wow. Talks about his sister's mental health. He has this whole thing about.
Oh yes, my brother Dan's guy. Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's got just mad skills, and March is really great. It is a really good.
So I met Nate in Toronto. He comes to the TCAF event, right? And I've talked to Nate about 3 or 4 times, and he's a prince. He's a prince of a man.
This is something I've changed my mind about a little bit as I've gotten older. I used to think that, like, because I had a few bad experiences meeting some of my heroes, where you're like, wow, that person's kind of a dick, or whatever. I've now started to realize, like, maybe I just caught them on, like, the worst day for them. Like, conventioning's exhausting, like, maybe it's like 5 minutes before I met them, like, maybe their mom's sick, or, you know what I mean? Like, who knows? Like, maybe they lost half their inventory when they were planning for so I'm less judgmental of some of the artists that I met when I was younger,
Right? Like, I'm the art director for the con here in London that we're having next weekend.
Oh, nice.
And so we've had, like, Neil Adams, when he was a guest there, he was everything that you'd heard Neil Adams would be. Like, he's just this codger of a guy. Like, he's
feisty.
He's feisty, and he looks at you and goes, "It's good to be Neil Adams." You're like, you fit the mold, baby. But and then we've had other guests, and it's like, wow, you're if I didn't hear this story over and over and over again about you, I'd feel like caught you on an off day. But I think this is who you are.
Well, so that's one thing I would say that is definitely true, and I always keep that in mind. It's like, because of the fact that it could just be a bad day or whatever, I really try to go out of my way to, like, if I meet somebody at a convention, to really like talk to them and be present and happy about it, because like I remember the bad impression that like an artist who was just a total dick would leave or something. So it's something I always try to keep in mind, is like, if somebody comes to my table, give them my attention, and respect, and give them respect, like be as much of a fan of them as they are of you. Right. I think that's a good, and that leads to nice things like Christopher, where you were saying like, Nate Powell's awesome. He's a really good person. It's like, it's those kind of things,
Those little moments, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Philip was saying, oh, wow, Chris, I wanted to go to that con, but I don't think I can make it to London. So I'm guessing, and that's London, Canada, for anybody watching this. Just letting you know. Not London.
How far is London from Detroit, Christopher?
2 hours.
2
An hour
hours.
and a half. An hour and a half, really. Is that where you are?
I'm 2 hours beyond Detroit. So keep going.
Okay, so here's my funny Detroit, America coming to Canada story. My wife and I went to a play recently of a live rendition of On Golden Pond. I don't know if you know that piece. It was Katharine Hepburn and Henry Fonda, and Jane Fonda played Henry's, his real life daughter played the daughter in the play. And it really is just about these two people growing old and hoping for the further generations to be more successful. And so we went and saw that, and the main actress was the lady that played Carolyn Ingalls Wilder, or Carolyn Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie. If you remember that show from the 70s and 80s.
Melissa Gilbert?
She's 80. What's that?
Oh, okay. Not Melissa Gilbert.
No, Melissa Gilbert's mom on the show.
Okay, gotcha.
So she's 80 years old doing this play.
Wow.
Some guy drove up from Indianapolis or something like that. I can't remember what it was. It was basically 5 hours away. He drove up from the States to see the play and to meet her. And he goes to get her book from her and to get a photo with her. And so one of the young ladies that works at the theater says, can I take that picture for you? And he says, yeah, sure. And so she looks at the camera funny as she holds it, and she just pressed the button here. So she presses the button. She goes, do you want another one? He goes, yep. And then she looks at it like it's from Mars, because this guy drove 5.5 hours with a $10 Instamatic camera. So he literally points at the camera and goes, you just gotta crank the wheels and move it to the next spool of film. Our next film in the spool.
Oh yeah, that's super old school.
That's the greatest thing I've ever heard about somebody coming up from the States for something in Canada and bringing the cheapest possible camera you could possibly get.
That's
like a systematic thing at a Shoppers Drug Mart or some sort of pharmacy store. So if you do come up, I don't know, have a camera in your phone.
My wife and I were just in Detroit, and we were going around the park at Belle Isle, and this family came up and wanted us to take their picture. So my wife said sure, and they handed her a Polaroid camera. So
wow.
Yeah, she took it in the yeah.
Hipsters are really into Polaroids. It's kind of a strange thing.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, it has hit 11 o'clock, which is my out time.
Yeah, and it's time for me to clock out here too. It's 2 a.m.
Awesome. Yep. So now you guys can have my old cutoff time, and I'll stick with my 11 o'clock. But thanks again for coming on the show. And Paul, everybody should check out Paul's website, Paul Pate. also writes really good comics, and I really recommend his Detective Perez series. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you, Josh.
And then Christopher Runciman, you can check out his website, or you can just subscribe to him on YouTube. He's doing a lot of live streams and stuff too. And I mean, as you can see from the page he's working on right now.
Yeah, that's just awesome, Christopher.
Yeah, I mean, those are sketch cards, but it's like, man, I don't see sketch cards done that beautifully hardly ever. So really nice work. A lot of mixed media and fun stuff. And then if you guys haven't yet, make sure you pick up Jacob's Apartment. It's I think it's like slightly on sale on Amazon. So if you kind of look, maybe I think it's like 15 now, so you can probably get a couple bucks off it. I'm not going to promise that because again, you might be watching this after the fact and maybe it goes back to full price, but pick this up at your local bookstore. The best thing you can do to support me and my art too would be to go to your local librarian and just ask them to carry this in the library too, or your local bookstore, ask them to order it. And then Two Stories as well, which is my graphic novel about faith and mental illness. And with that, anything you guys want to say before we head out?
Good night.
Yeah, good night. Thanks for having
Thanks, Josh. I had a blast. I really appreciate your stream. I love it. It's good to work to, or just great to listen to. You're very insightful and observant and thoughtful.
Oh, thank you.
And life in general. So.
Right on.
Appreciate it. Well, you guys are awesome, and I really appreciate the community that we're kind of building together. It's pretty rad. So that will do it. I will see you guys on the next live stream, and probably tomorrow. So I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Night.